Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm back on. I haven't been doing. Let's see. Have I done one of these? I don't think so. But yeah, I was gonna do a college update, but I'm gonna wait until Tuesday. So hear about get back the info. But it's going good. Still, I still have to take some classes anyway. If people don't know me, I'm not a, like I, it's a lot easier for me to talk about other writers, and when I'm writing, it's easy for me to write about other people and myself. When I write about myself, it's really convoluted and it's there, but it's not. I don't write confessional or autobiographical fiction, but maybe it's there. But I'm Alexander Lawrence. I'm a writer, poet, translator, editor. In my work, I think there first thing published was 87, but I was started writing around 82 or 84. I think the stuff I published 84. Maybe some of the 82 stuff hasn't come out yet, or I didn't like it. My work spans 4 decades across poetry, prose, translation, literary curation, book reviews. I have some plays I eventually put together. I've done a couple films. And too much stuff. I'm a Renaissance guy. I'm the author of Five Fingers Make a Fist, short stories 2007, The Analog Body, The Collected Poems, 84 to 2024. And that came out last year. No, it came out, yeah, 20, it came out in 2024, September, but I guess mostly, maybe 2025. My next book is called The Dieppe Circuit, and it continues with my long-standing engagement with narrative memory and cultural fracture. And then I've done some other, while I was trying to pay the bills or doing magazines, I also have other publications. The Grove Press number 1990 about the history of Grove Press. The Adobe Anthology 94, that was about had to do with William T. Vollman, Degenerative Prose, 1995. That was like innovative fiction. American Book Jam, 99. I'm not really sure. It's translated into Japanese over there. I forgot. I think I wrote a long review of Murakami, as I remember, for that. But the Grove Priest Reader, 51 to 2000, came out. Grove Press Reader. I don't know what I said. But I'm uncredited, but I worked on the Feltrinelli interview that's in the beginning of the book. I have a copy of it over here. The Hipster Handbook, that was from Free Williamsburg, 2004. That was a bestseller in the Bay Area. Expelled from Eden, the William T. Voller Reader, 2004. Reefer Movie Madness, 2010. Conversations with Edwidge John DeCott, 2017. Conversations with William T. Vollman, 2020. Ronald Sukanik, the interviews, 2022. Tofu Arts Press, Volume 6, 2023. And coming out hopefully this year is Dogs and Lingerie, by Danielle Willis. And it will be a third version on Zeitgeist Press, and has two of my interviews and some of my pictures. And I also translated Maurice Roche's Codex, and it appeared in Talisman and Apache Quarterly 95. And I would, um, that was like maybe like a 10-year project. I started it with a couple French students when I was still going to Long Beach State. I discovered the book, and I thought it was kind of weird. I was sharing it with a few friends, and we tried to do a translation together. And they kind of, I graduated in '88, so I thought I did, and moved away. But I still stayed friends with Devin Wrench, and but kind of lost touch. None of us were really translators and stuff, but and so ended up translated about 40 or 50 pages of it, maybe about a third of it. And Mark Polizzotti came. I think he also translated the book, but the book has never come out in English. He Mark Polizzotti came out with Compact, which is a simpler book. It's not as detailed, and but yeah, that was like something that I did, and I did some French translations. I mean, I'm not the greatest French or Spanish translator, but I do uh, translations that are that are maybe considered poet translations, and or I forget what they call them. Because that's what I was talking about, like all the classics and stuff. A lot like the Gilgamesh and the Aeneid translation I just read. I don't think those people, some of these people that are translating these days, they don't read Greek or Latin. They just kind of study the translations that are already out there and stuff. So it's kind of that's a whole world, and people probably know what I'm talking about that have discovered that world. So my translations, I have a whole. I mean, translations is something I use in my writing all the time. I'm always translating something. I'm trying to shape something. Uh, oh, that's what I was going to talk about in this thing. So let's get to there. We're 6 minutes. Okay, so I've also worked as an editor, a publisher. I'm a founder and editor of Cups Magazine, Siren Magazine, Spec Magazine, Free Williamsburg, and presently the Portable Infinite. All these platforms are known for championing innovative and independent writing, and I'm still doing stuff. And I worked. I forgot to include Zoo Magazine in there too. And I won a few poetry awards: the Brown Foot Poetry Award in Long Beach State, 1988; the San Francisco Bay Guardian Poetry Contest, 1992. And there's some noise here. Hold on. Okay, so we're back. Okay, so hello, someone there? Any questions? Okay, so I just wanted to talk about writing and like one of my earliest publications. Somebody sent me this. They found it in their thing. This is like 1988, but this is now included. That's only like I think there's only like about 12 poems in there, but it's included in this book, the full book, 25 poems. Just words and things is the not part one, but part three, and there's 25 poems in there. And the original, I think. Let's see. Huh. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 poems. Okay, wow. That's kind of a lot. And kind of shoved them in there. I kind of like this. This font's pretty interesting that we used in there. It's sort of was I like I should have probably wrote about it a little bit. So yeah. So there's so right now so I have 3 novels. I probably won't be working on them until they're partly written until next year. But this year I'm trying to get a lot of stuff published. So I have where where's that email? Okay, so I should probably go to the email rather than, or I should at least print it out. So there's an email which is describing what I'm talking about here. Oh, this is Okay, so sent. Oh yeah. Okay, so there's 5 books. Okay, so Junkyard, which is a novel about punk rock. I wrote it. I came up with it in 1998. I felt like the book I was writing for a couple years in the 90s. I just felt it was too esoteric. So I felt like I gotta simplify. So this is one. There's 2 things. One of the books I haven't got to yet, which is kind of a New York novel, but Junkyard. I came up. I think I came up with it right after read some Duncan MacLean books, the Scottish writer, like Black Den, and I thought like, oh, I gotta write something about Huntington Beach punk rock in '81. So that's what I did. So I think I wrote about 10 chapters from about 2000 and to 2009. I had the same 10 or 12 chapters. And at the beginning of the book, I kept on rewriting it, and I go, no, this it's and up to that point, I had written everything out in longhand and then transferred it over to the computer and made some fine touches and some rewrites. But I never. Junkyard's the first book I wrote directly on the computer. And yeah, this book and the New York novel are both books the plan was to write even yeah, I think up until 2000 and even till 2010. I think I wrote most of Junkyard in 2010 because I sat here and just had breakfast, and then I would write for 2 or 3 hours, and then I watched very little TV or anything. I was thinking I had a bunch of cats here, and I had the cat sit on my lap, and so I tried to write as much as I could, 1,000 words a day. So I did that for about 2 months, and so I got that was the basically, and then so I thought the book was done, but it was still kind of, you know, and I just kind of I had moved on. I let it sit for a long time, so yeah, but it's finally done. I'm always like fine tuning it, like kind of going over and like adding details. There's always because I mean I'm always writing down notes and stuff, and I always want to put them like somewhere in a book, and it's like, oh shit, okay, this is like where I could talk about something like the Golden Bough or something, or not that's like the Junkyard isn't, it's not really that kind of far out. So the good news in this winter of 2025, 26, I had 5 books done. The Dieppe Circuit, I think I finished that back in September, I think, but in the fall sometime. Like I was written kind of like right after I was like kind of editing the analog body. The analog body came out about a year and a half ago, and so while I was going to put it together, I started writing a new book, and the idea was it was going to be about Marcel Proust and Marcel Duchamp as if they were brothers. So that's how it started out. So it's 4 parts. Each part has 11 poems. And so that's done. So Junkyard and Dieppe Circuit are pretty much done, but until Junkyard finds a publisher, I will be adding sentences to it. And so after that, I wrote Letters to Dave Gahan. It started out as kind of a parody of a book by Eric Erlandson, Letters to Kurt Cobain. But after about 4 chapters, 4 letters, it kind of lost some steam, and I just kind of it was just about a lot of stuff that happened to me in the 90s, the music scene, and it's very general. And Dave Gahan I don't really have any feelings one way or another about Depeche Mode and Dave Gahan, but I just thought that was like I might change the title. But that's pretty much that. It's kind of like prose poetry. a lot like Eric Erlinson's book was. It's prose poetry. It's very loose. So that's kind of it's probably like 40. It's probably like it's 44 letters, but it's probably a lot shorter than the maybe a similar shape to the Deep Circuit because that's 44 poems. This is about 45 or 46 letters. Um, there's no reason to add to it, but we'll see. Yeah, I should have another look at that. Kind of, and so like as I can okay. Let me just go over the first five books here. Okay, Junkyard Letters, and I guess Letters to John by John Barth is I guess was kind of an influence too. And then I have my memoir, Trying to Be Geniuses Together, which I wrote about. What was it? I'm trying to remember 2018 or 19 or something. I just kind of pumped it out in 2 months. I was really proud of myself because I was like going, oh my God, like all these other books were such a pain in the ass. And I just pumped out this book like in 6 weeks, pretty much. And so I gave a copy to David Latimer and Pat Quinn, and I don't know, but I let that sit for many years. But I kind of brought it to a workshop, and they got to read it, and people liked it. But I kind of tuned it up and took out a little bit, and it's around 100 pages now, 20 chapters. And and then I have another thing called Self Destruct. It's kind of like a short philosophical work. I kind of like Bataille and Blanchot with a little bit of Samuel Beckett thrown in. And that's probably about 40 pages. But if you read Writing of the Disaster by Maurice Blanchot, you kind of get an idea. It's kind of like post-Nietzschean kind of philosophical literary tracks. So I wrote this. I wrote that probably, or at least started it around the same time I wrote Monsieur Untel and Story of Bliss, and a lot of the earliest stuff I wrote, like the earliest stories I wrote in '86. And I was reading the Story of Bliss and this, and I was going, wow, these are pretty good. Like why don't I revive these works because they need to be out there too. So there's like those five books. Those are all done pretty much. I think they're done. A few. And then Five Fingers Make a Fist. It's a new. I'm kind of putting together a new 20th anniversary, and I kind of put them in stories in a different order. So where the first five stories are their early stories, and then there's like 15 stories. Let's see, no, 13 stories that are like the Five Fingers Make a Fist part. They all take place in San Francisco, and they're all kind of connected. And there's some of the same characters in each of the stories. And then there's there's five at the end. Five at the end. Yeah, 13 in the middle. And the last part is about death and stuff. So that's kind of the same with the first book. The originals, I had story. The original Five Fingers Make a Fist had story of my life first and my birth and childhood. Those are kind of, there's five stories in the beginning and then story of my life is number 6 and my birth is 7 and childhood is 8. So the book there's like a bunch of stories right before it. So, and then I wrote a new book of stories. It's actually 13 stories now because there's Laura Warholic and San Francisco story that's kind of put in there, 11 stories. And I was going to give myself a few months, but it's actually laid out. Maybe some of the stories, like The Dreamer, are a little bit thin right now, but I mean, I feel like most of it's pretty much done. And needs a few edits and maybe but I'm kind of happy with the way it goes. So there's like, so I have 7 different books that. How are we doing time? Okay, we're already at 20 minutes. Okay, and somebody just left with no questions. Oh, you're back. Is that Mr. Sexy there? So let's see. Um, I mean, I have these 7 books. I'm kind of looking who's going to publish it. I sort of have a plan B to publish, or at least a few of them, and by the end of the year. So I'm giving myself this whole year to get these 7 books published. Kind of, and then I can start working on. There's like 3 novels that are going to come after that I've already kind of have written at least half, or there's this. They're I pretty much know what they're going to be and stuff. So I'm gonna so I'll try to think like 2027 will be I'll be working on Malakota. This book called Malakota, which kind of goes back to my earliest writings, and it's gonna be like 4 or 5 parts of different things that I'm gonna put it together, and so like a lot. That's my style, and then after that is this. I've mentioned it a few times, but it's a kind of an autobiographical novel that I wrote in the summer of '92, which I kind of like, but I don't think I never really figured out the ending or how it really how to put together. But there's a lot of it's written, and I think it wouldn't take much to kind of fine tune it. So that'll be 2028. 2029 is the New York novel. So right now, yeah, I'm kind of like dealing with the publishing world, and when I'm reading a lot of stuff it's piling up a lot of the books, got some stuff here, stuff like this, and um, Ezra Pound, of course, and then when I go to something I kind of like, I just kind of read it. I start reading the beginning. I was reading the other day. I was reading the beginning of Junkyard, so it's kind of there's this something looks wrong to me. Oh, there needs to be a sentence here. It doesn't really there's not a good transition. Maybe I could do something here. So there's always like fine tunings that you can do in anything, I think, and then I guess I've been going from been going to Junkyard, and I've been looking at the new book of short stories. This is a test. Kind of just reading Montague Terrace and a few other stories, and just kind of making sure that they're it sounds right. I think you just have to, when you write books, you just have to read them to yourself again and again, and um, I kind of got burned out on Five Fingers Make a Fist because I've had it around so long, but I'm kind of getting interested in it again because it's sort of transformed in a way, and all these books are kind of getting transformed because each book is sort of I kind of know what I'm doing with the certain books and how they're different from the other ones. It's not. I'm not a writer. It's it's like with one book is a bunch of constraints, a bunch of rules, a bunch of things, and the next one's is slightly different. They don't seem like I'm not a confessional writer. I'm not a I'm not. Um, I mean, I was doing that reading last week, and I just, you know, I have an interest in stories and the story, how it's told, and uh, you know, the great novels, the great stories have been told and stuff. And I think the way that people that right now that are different is, I guess, because we interact with computers more, but I mean, most of my novels and these stories that like take place, except for the new book of stories, which are is kind of modern or maybe slightly in the future. The other ones are a lot of it takes place in the 80s and 90s that I'm writing about, so it's kind of pre-technology. But I think, I mean, I think as a writer, you kind of have to look at things in culture and kind of adapt them into your writing, and that's how it makes it a little bit different from previous writers. So I can't really, you know, be one of these like, even though I like the surrealist poets or the beat poets or these people, I can't really be them because like the political situation is a lot different. Or I, I don't want to copy their lifestyle or anything. I just want to write the best book that I can possible, and it's after a while it just becomes like its own thing. It's what once you get it on the page and stuff, it's just a book like any other book, and you just want to make it like the best book possible, and you don't want it to be. I don't want my books to be any kind of coherent series or like say, oh yeah, I don't want to have people have any expectations and stuff. And it's like, well, like I've had all sorts of reactions to my stories and my novels. I think some people got it, and other people just don't got it because they're not sophisticated readers. They don't know what the hell I'm doing. They're expecting a certain type of novel. They think, oh, I'm from LA. It's going to be like this. And, usually they're kind of wrong because what I'm not doing that at all. I don't know why we have to keep on writing the same novels, and you have to have these set of expectations. I mean, that's, okay. Like I said, this book is about punk rock, but it's not a nostalgic a book about punk rock. It's not making myself look um, better because I was involved in punk rock. It's actually, um, I mean, punk rock is kind of complicated, and really, at the end of the day, it's not. It's not a very pretty uh, thing. It's and eventually, if you're healthy, you have to move on from punk rock, and a lot of people don't. And I think a lot of people, that's why a lot of the characters in the book or end up being dead by the ending chapters because they just kind of like took punk rock as a be all and an end all, and just punk rock was just a phase, was just was a tool that you want to move on, I think. And so how that relates to the next book, the Dave Gahan book, it's like Dave Gahan and Depeche Mode is like a bit in the 90s. The 90s, that was probably like my least favorite musical decade. And so it's the total opposite. Junkyard, I have way more invested in that music, but I don't really want to write a nostalgic, uh, you know, book about punk rock. And I feel like a lot of people get punk rock wrong. Maybe punk rock was all hype and but punk rock's in the rearview mirror for me. And the '90s, I just kind of see as a kind of a transitional time now, and I don't, but I don't really like any of the music so much, except for a few bands here and there. The memoir uh, is more of a bigger overlook, starting like um, kind of like, how does one become a writer? How does one get into publishing? How does one work with in the music world? How does one do anything? I think I think it has more to do with the publishing world and just trying to and meeting other writers and everything, all that stuff. I think that's what it's eventually about. It's kind of a bigger, wider look. It's of things, so it's a little bit different. Self destruct, like I said, is maybe because I'm interested in like religion and philosophy and all that stuff. So what I was thinking of what's the philosophy or what's the moral system. um, not me so personally, but just kind of the way I think when I'm writing and stuff. And so this book is about that. It's kind of a literary book, uh, kind of like mapping out a philosophical and moral system, like in a way. I don't know. It's weird for me to talk about about it, um, but I like how it turned out. And I read a little bit of it online. The Deep Circuit, yeah, like I said, it's kind of like I mean, right now it's like I don't really plan on writing any more poetry. That's like the last book. It's very complicated. It's just I mean, I started real simple, about the Duchamp and Proust, and then there's a bit about David Bowie, and it's kind of just taking a lot of my favorite things and writing poetry about it in in one book. It didn't seem like I was there. Um, it's kind of congested. It's like literature. I was reading. I think there's a lot of references, literary references in it. It's a little more congested than some of the poetry in Analog Body. This is a test. I think, yeah, it's a lot like Five Fingers in one way. It's like maybe Five Fingers. When I wrote it, I thought like, oh yeah, here's some good ideas for a novel, but I would only write a couple chapters or one chapter, and I was like, oh, that's in the. I would lose steam and stuff, and so I kind of ended up, okay, they're going to be like a bunch of monologues and just put them all together, and that's how Five Fingers Make a Fist came. I didn't really, I wasn't really thinking of writing a book of short stories, but it kind of came together because I had a couple stories, I had a couple monologues. Let's just throw it together. Let's make it a book. This is a test. I mean, it was supposed to be like 11 stories, but I wrote two more, and they were supposed to be kind of 11 stories that were sort of they were going to be about some families and groups and slightly about the future, and like it was going to be a little bit sci-fi, but I kind of I kind of mixed it a little bit. So there's like true. I put some true crime, um, some. There's two stories about writers now. Well, maybe three. Um, there was an epistolary chapter, or there's an epistolary story. There's yeah, the first three stories seem to be kind of similar because they're kind of were more about the original premise, and then but I kind of like it too. But It's gonna be 13 stories. Some of them are a lot longer than the ones that Five Fingers Make a Fist. A lot of the stories are only like 2 or 3 pages, and then there's maybe like 3 or 4 stories that are about 10 pages. So this one, um, I mean, the shorter stories are about 3 or 4 pages, and the longer ones are maybe 20 or 30 pages. And yeah, it's going to be a trip. I'm trying to I'm trying to expand my horizons. Everything, it's not. Uh, no, I got all these videos of me rubbing my eyes and stuff. I guess that's just how I start when I start thinking about stuff. I've been going on a while here, 35 minutes. Let's cut it. Okay, I'll talk about it more, but yeah, I'll do another video when we have some publishing. I got. There's 2 more weeks before school starts again, but hopefully I should send some of this stuff out or contact a publisher. So I'll do another video in a couple weeks when maybe in February where I got some publishing prospects. Okay, good night, everybody.